Hello.
Hi.
CJ. You guys know what we're talking about today?
China.
No. That was a good guess, though. I think I told you yesterday that we were talking about China today, so I don't blame you. There's another continent that we're talking, well, an area of the world that we're talking about today. Starts with an A. Today we're talking about Australia and Oceania. We're going to focus on Australia and New Zealand, but I might touch a little bit on Oceania, which would include some Polynesian culture. And we're going to talk about Aborigines and Maori culture as well today. So, be exciting. We'll wait another minute to see if anyone else shows up, and then we will get started. Oh, today we're going to do some art. So if you would like to go get a piece of paper, you might have supplies in your kit. I'm not entirely sure. I think the plan was to do art today. But if you have any sort of coloring utensils or tools, markers, crayons, colored pencils, any of that, you can get it. If you want to go fancy, you can get paint and just a white piece of paper like I have. I just have printer paper, and then I'm going to use probably some of my colorful pens, but you guys can go grab some of that stuff. It doesn't have to be fancy. Why, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right, I'm going to get started just because I want to make sure that we have enough time to do some of our fun art stuff at the end of our class today. So first we're going to start with Australia. This is the Australian flag. What do you notice about it? Do you recognize this part of the, oh, let me turn on my little pointer. Do you guys recognize this?
Yes. Yes.
What is it?
The British flag.
Yeah, the British flag. We also call it the Union Jack, if you want to give it a nickname. And it's because, or does anybody know why the Union Jack is on the Australian flag?
I think so.
Would you like to tell me?
Sure. I think it's that London or the UK is to own it just like America. I think so, maybe?
Yeah, really good job. That's correct. So Australia, as well as New Zealand, were both British colonies. And they never went through a revolution. They just are kind of phasing away from England. So in some regards, they're still kind of a part of Britain, which is why they have the Union Jack on their flag. In other ways, they're their own independent country. So it's kind of an in-between, really. Good job, though. All right, so Australia is down here, okay? Australia is special because it's the only continent that is also a country, but the area of Oceania is all of these little islands right here. This is going to be considered Asia. These islands right here are going to be Asia, but these islands out here are going to be Oceania or Polynesia. So there's a little distinction there. Okay, the landscape of Australia, it has tropical rainforests. So this whole area up here is closer to the equator, and has beautiful tropical rainforests, especially along this coast. There's desert, so pretty much everything in the interior of Australia is desert. There's a temperate coastline, so this whole coastline right here has temperate forests and grasslands, like where Sydney is down here, as well as Gold Coast and Brisbane and all of these. And then the Blue Mountains, there's a mountain range just inside of this coastline right here that separates the Australian bush, which would be this area, and the coastline. And then the Great Barrier Reef is up in here. How many of you guys have seen Finding Nemo?
I have.
You have? Yeah, me too. Finding Nemo is a classic, right? Well, the Great Barrier Reef is where Nemo and his friends live. And then so that's where Nemo gets captured, and then they follow the, the jet stream down this way, or the, tide down this way, and end up in Sydney Harbor down here. So they're Australian fish. And then Uluru, which is a giant rock formation out in the middle of Australia, which I will show you. Okay, so this is Uluru. Have you guys seen pictures of this before? It's pretty famous. It's a giant rock formation in the middle of the Australian desert or Australian bush, and it is sacred to the Aboriginal tribes that live around it. You used to be able to hike up it, but that hiking, that access has now been stopped. It ended about a year ago, so people can no longer hike up Uluru. These are the 12 apostles that are in the Indian Ocean side, so over by Perth. This is the three sisters. See 1, 2, 3. They're in the Blue Mountains of Australia. I actually took this picture when I was in Australia. And then this is the Great Barrier Reef. And sadly, the Great Barrier Reef doesn't look like this anymore. It's kind of dying, which is really sad. Okay, so Australia is special. It's the only country that is also a continent. I already mentioned that. It's also one of the oldest continents. Australia and Africa are the oldest continents. They have very special wildlife and very dangerous wildlife. So we got the kangaroo. What other animals live in Australia besides the kangaroo? It likes to hug trees. And it eats
Koala sloth? Sloth?
A koala.
Koala.
Good job. Yep. Koala bears. They like to eat eucalyptus. We got emus and ostriches, which, fun fact, are the national animal of Australia. And they can't run backwards. They can only run forward, so that's why it's the national animal. We have a great white sharks. There's lots of sharks in the water around Australia. And so dangerous wildlife, what are some dangerous animals that live in Australia? I mean, they're dangerous everywhere, but some really dangerous ones in Australia. You want a hint? They have no legs.
Snakes.
Snakes. There's lots of venomous snakes, lots of really nasty venomous spiders. When I was in Australia, I watched a spider about this big kill a lizard. It was intense. They have a lot of dangerous wildlife. You gotta be careful out in Australia. They have really big spiders too, like big spiders. Yeah, it's gross. Not a fan. Okay, so as far as Australian culture, there's kind of two halves, right? There's the Aboriginal culture, which is going to be the tribal culture of Australia. And then there's the pop culture, so the culture that's current, that people our age would enjoy. This slide is more about the folk or native culture. This link should be available to you on the website. It's how Aborigines, which are the native people of Australia, create didgeridoos. Have you guys ever heard of a didgeridoo? They're the really long instruments that make funny noises. You need to look it up. They're really famous, but they make like the coolest sound ever. And they're made out of hollowed out tree trunks. This is Aborigines art down here. And then this is a video of Robert Irwin. He is Steve Irwin's son, and his family own a zoo in Australia. And they do a lot for Australian wildlife. All right, that's some other cool things from Australia. There's surfing, obviously. The Sydney Opera House, right here, where they have a very well-known ballet as well. The Australian Ballet performs here. And then AFL, which is Australian Football League. And it's kind of like rugby, American football, and soccer all tossed into one. And they play on a giant circular court, and they have to like hit, bump, and check and kick the ball into the goalposts. It's very interesting. Definitely look this up if you have the chance. All right, now we're going to move across the sea to these next islands, which are called New Zealand. What do you guys notice about this flag? What's different from this flag to the Australian flag?
There's only 4 stars.
There's stars. The stars on this flag are red, and there's one less star than the Australian flag. Good job. But it's very similar, right? Almost impossible to tell them apart. And we have that Union Jack there again. All right, the geography of New Zealand is very different from Australia. There's lots of mountains and volcanic mountains. Fjords. You guys know what a fjord is? Have you ever heard that word before? A fjord is a water inlet. So if you look down here, you can see how the water comes into the land a little bit from the ocean, and it's in between mountains. So there's like a mountain, and then it looks like the mountain goes straight into the water, and then the water comes in. Have you guys seen Frozen? Yeah, Frozen, they live in fjords, if that makes sense. Like the mountain goes straight into the water. That's a fjord. And then temperate climate. So it rains pretty regularly. It's not too hot and not too cold. Just good. It's a good climate. And then subtropic north. So this area up here, Northland, is closer to the equator and is more tropical than down here where it's mountainous and snowy and there's like glaciers and stuff. Okay, so here is some of the landscape of New Zealand. It's super beautiful. This is that fjord I was talking about. See how it looks like the mountain is coming out of the water? Then this is in Northland where it's tropical and warm and pretty. Here are some sheep herding grazeland and some of those big mountains with glaciers. Fun facts. So New Zealand's a really interesting place. There are more sheep than people in New Zealand. Yep. Many movies are filmed there, like Lord of the Rings. In fact, you can visit this right here is the Shire or the Hobbit Village. And you can visit and rent out these little spaces and you can live like a hobbit for a day. Have any of you guys seen Lord of the Rings? Might be a little.
I saw the beginning.
You saw the beginning? Okay, so you know what the Shire is, because the Shire's in the very.
And I would not want to live in it.
I mean, it's pretty cool. They have it updated. It's not like, I'm not asking you to live like Bilbo Baggins, but the Lord of the Rings filmed almost all of their movies in New Zealand because the landscape is so incredible that you feel like you're in a fictional land, which is really cool. And not a lot of people. You're really just fighting for space with all the sheep. And people from New Zealand are called Kiwis because the national bird of New Zealand is this kiwi bird right here. It's a flightless bird that is just kind of chubby and has like a cute little face. It's pretty cute. Okay, now we're going to talk about Maori culture. So in Australia, I said that they had Aborigines, which are what you call the natives. And in New Zealand, they have the Maori. And the Maori are a really special tribe. The tribe is best known for its fearsome warriors and incredible traditions. So some of those traditions include tattooing the face. As you can see right here, Maori warriors would tattoo their face or their entire body. So their arms, their chest, even their backsides and their legs. And even women get this, they would tattoo their lower lip and this area, their chin. If you're a woman, you would have this part tattooed, and if you're a man, you'd have your whole face tattooed. They perform haka dances, which are these, they like slap their legs and their chest, and they make really intense faces and they scream chants. And it's an intimidation tactic, but it's also just a ritual. They even do hakas at weddings and ceremonies here and there, but they also do in war, and they do them like before rugby matches is really popular. And then they do the hungi greeting, which is where they touch foreheads to each other, which I think is just a really awesome tradition right down here. And then the Maori tribe has really, really shaped the culture of New Zealand, more so than native tribes of other lands. To kind of see that influence, if you fly on Air New Zealand, their planes are black, and they have this silver fern design right here, which is a marker of the Maori culture. Same here, this is the proposal for the new flag of New Zealand. It gets rid of that Union Jack and honors the Maori people through this silver fern design. And you can kind of see that here as well. It's a very popular design. And then this one down here, what does this remind you of? It's a Disney movie, if that helps.
Kind of like Maui Hook?
Yeah, Maui's Hook from Moana. So yeah, there we go. So Maori culture is closely linked to a lot of other Polynesian cultures, which include the Tonga, Hawaiian, I'm trying to think of another one, Samoan. All of these cultures aren't exactly the same, but they share some characteristics and aspects. So Maui in Moana takes inspiration from Polynesian culture and some Maori culture. So his fish hook has some Maori influence. And then this is Aboriginal art. Again, going back to Australia, this is what Australian art looks like. Super, super colorful. They use dots and thick lines to create designs. They also love the imagery of animals. So we have the lizard, the kangaroo. They also do a lot of platypus and turtles and things like that, or physical features like waves. All right, and now this is where I want you guys to get out your piece of paper that you have. I want you to try some of these designs. So you can either do some some Aboriginal art with markers or crayons or whatever you have. Use dots and lines to create patterns. And colorful, it needs to be colorful if you would like to do Aboriginal art. Or you can use black. You can use a pencil or a pen or a black marker and create line designs to mimic Maori design. Again, some of the animals that you can use for inspiration are kangaroos, turtles, lizards, kiwis, and stingrays. Or you can do plants. Maori culture uses a lot of plant life as inspiration as well, flowers, ferns, and things like that. So I will give you some time to kind of think up some design and try to draw something. And I would love to see what you have created. I'm gonna put on some didgeridoo music while we're doing this. So let me find some of that. So you guys can hear some didgeridoo. You have a question? Good. Can you guys hear my music? No.
We can hear it, but we can't really hear a lot of it.
Okay, here, let me. No, I'm still teaching. Yes. All right, how we doing? Did you guys come up with anything? Do you need more time? let's do this. Show me what you have right now, and then we will end this meeting, but I want you to continue to do it. And then take pictures of it and make sure that you're emailing it or showing it to some of your other teachers so that we can feature you on the website and maybe get you a prize. Okay, so show me what you got so far. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a work in progress, so is mine. It's not fantastic. I'm not expecting you guys to be professional artists or to be able to emulate perfectly these traditional art techniques that took other people years and years and years to master. So do not worry about it. Good job, Wyatt. Nice. Did you choose to do Maori art?
Yeah, me and my sister drew these.
Nice. Good job. All right. You know what did you do? Oh, cool. So kind of.
I tried to draw like the ocean.
Yeah. Very, very cool. I like it. Now you can go back in when you have more time and add color. I think it would be really fun to do paint because that art would be easier to do with paint, huh? I think. Yeah. All right, CJ, what do you got to show me?
Oh,
Okay, I saw your message. All right, I'll show you what I did. Just a little doodle. I don't know if you can see, but I put a turtle on it. But yeah, I'm glad you guys came today. Keep working on that art. This slideshow is available on the website. There should also be a video about didgeridoos and a video about rugby hakas. So go watch those. Those are really interesting videos to watch. And I will see you tomorrow where we actually do talk about China. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
bye.
Bye.